course. In your assignments this week, you're going to explore culture and communication and conflict in communication. So what I'm going to do is click on the course content button on the left side of the screen, scroll down to the week 3 folder, and I'm going to click on that. And as you should be accustomed to at this point, you'll notice that there is the summary at the top of the page, and along with that summary is a list of the assignments that you'll have for the week. The first item on that list is to read chapter 3 in your text, and the second item is to complete the quiz that goes along with that test. Now remember that your quizzes are unlimited attempts up until the due date of Sunday at 11:59 p.m. and I recommend that you have the chapter reading open while you're taking the quiz. That way you can refer back to the reading while you're taking the quiz, especially if you're trying to get the highest score possible. Instead of taking 5 attempts to do that, it may only take you 1 or 2 if you just take a little bit extra time to refresh your memory with the readings while you're going through the multiple choice true and false questions in that quiz. All right. Right below that is an item that says identifying cultural distinctions. What you're going to do with this item here is click on the title, and when you click on the title, it's going to bring up this page, and this item over here, this is a PDF file that gives you a list of cultural distinctions. Some of them are mentioned in the chapter and some of them are not. But they're all on one page, and what I did is I wrote out a summary of each of these cultural distinctions. So you'll notice that you've got the bolded cultural distinction on top and a very brief summary of those distinctions right below. Keep this PDF open or print it out if you need to. What you're going to do with the PDF is use it while you take this quiz. So now I've got that PDF open. I'm going to click continue on the bottom right of the page, and it's going to bring up different cultural scenarios. So here's one on an instructor that refuses a class because it's going to cut into his time with his family. Here's another one on a student that's meeting his fellow student to complete a project, but his fellow student is late and he doesn't think that there's anything wrong with being late. You've got different scenarios here, and then it asks you a question when you read the scenario. What cultural distinction is taking place in that scenario? Well, you'll go back to your list here and look at the cultural distinctions to determine which one is taking place in that scenario. And then it gives you a pretty good idea of how people respond differently depending on what their culture is. So in some cultures, nobody really thinks twice about being late a few minutes or even being late a couple hours. In other cultures, there is a respect for authority that you don't question. In still other cultures, you think about the group instead of the self, or you think about yourself instead of the group. It depends on your culture. So that sheet of the different cultural distinctions and these scenarios will help you to get a better appreciation of cultural distinctions. Okay, so there's that. And right below that is a communication style survey. And there's 2 items on this list. I should say there's 2 surveys. There's survey 1 and there's survey 2. What you're going to do is click on these surveys, complete them, and then you're going to list for that first survey, you're going to list your most dominant conflict resolution style and then your backup style. On the second survey, you're going to list the style that you use when all is right with your world and everything's going smoothly, and then you're going to list the style you use when you're very stressed. I mean, obviously, you know from your own life and from interacting with others, when people are stressed, they may be a little more aggressive, they may be a little more short-tempered, or maybe they're calmer and they try to be a little more deliberate. So these 2 surveys will give you some insight as to how you communicate during conflict and during stress. What you'll do is you'll click on the title of this assignment, you'll click Create Thread, and you've got the surveys right here. They'll pop up in a different screen, and then you'll complete each of those surveys Remember, you don't turn in the survey to me per se. All you do is use your results to respond to the discussion here. So that second one's coming up. What you'll do, please, when you complete the assignments is you will type survey 1, you will type survey 2, and then you will use the prompt above to complete your responses. Very straightforward. This is for your insight into yourself. So what you'll do is you'll put my most dominant style is, and then type it out. And then you'll do it for the second one. My backup style is, and you'll type it out. And then you'll do it for survey number 2. So it's easier for me to grade it when you use the format like this, so I can very quickly see what you had chosen or you had come up with for your results for each of those. So please use this approach and then click submit on the bottom and you're good to go. All right, now there's one other assignment here, and let me see if I can get back to it quickly. This one's a little different than, well, it is different than what you've done before. So let me explain that to you here. You did your reading, you did your quiz, you did your cultural distinctions, you did the surveys. This last one is conflict resolution approaches. So the first thing you're going to do is click on this PowerPoint, interpersonal conflict approaches. And it's going to bring up this PowerPoint. And this PowerPoint shows you different approaches to handling conflict. One approach to handling conflict is just to avoid it, which doesn't sound like a very healthy, positive approach. But avoiding conflict can actually be healthy depending on the situation. You might ask, well, what situation? Well, I give you a list of scenarios when it's appropriate to avoid conflict. And then I give you another type of conflict resolution approach. Accommodating the other person, letting the other person get their way. That may not sound very healthy or a very good approach, effective approach. It is, depending on the situation. And then I give you the situations where accommodating is the best approach. Then there's several other approaches: competing, collaborating, and then I give you the scenarios where that would work, and then compromising. And compromising is different than collaborating, and I give you some descriptions on there as to why it's different. So you'll have that PowerPoint, read through it, have it open, and after you review it, what you're going to do is click on this item right below it, which is the interpersonal conflict Kahoot assessment. Now, some of you may be familiar with Kahoot. If you're not, you're going to become very familiar with it once you click on the link. It's going to open up a game style review for you. And if you don't have a Kahoot account, it'll walk you through getting a free one. But what I'm going to do, what I did with this Kahoot is give you different scenarios where conflict is taking place. And then I ask you what type of conflict is taking place, and then you select the different types of conflict that are taking place there. All right. So once you get your score for that conflict Kahoot assessment, you're going to take a screenshot of it and you'll submit it to this assignment. How do you submit it to the assignment? You click on the assignment and then you click create thread, and then you will upload. Well, let me do it. I'll click create thread, and then right below here I'm going to click the plus button and upload my screenshot by clicking insert local files and then looking for the screenshot to insert it. If you don't know how to take a screenshot, it depends. If you have an Apple computer, you hold down the Command Shift 4 button. If you're using a PC, then you're going to use a snipping tool. The easiest thing to do is just to Google it. Google screenshot Windows machine, screenshot Apple computer, and it's going to show you how to take a screenshot. Then you can upload that screenshot. All right, so those are the assignments this week. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, remember to use the email button on the left side of the page and email me, and I'll be sure to respond to that. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I hope you're staying safe and healthy.